Welcome to the Strongbow Exploration presentation on the AGORACOM online Gold and Commodities Conference. My name is Ken Armstrong. I'm the President and CEO of Strongbow, and I'll be presenting our company to you today, as well as answering any questions posted by investors who are watching the presentation at our scheduled time. If you're watching the presentation outside of our scheduled time, please post your questions, as we will be checking in over the next couple of days to answer them. So this is just our disclaimer. I'm going to be using some forward-looking statements and information during this presentation. Take some time to review this slide, and if you'd like, you can come by afterwards and take a much closer look at it. So Strongbow has a number of exploration projects in Canada. We have some gold and copper projects in British Columbia, and through our interest in our sister company, North Arrow Minerals, we have exposure to some greenfields exploration projects in northern Canada. North Arrow's primary focus at the moment is lithium exploration in Canada, as well as in North Carolina in the United States. But over the last 3 years, Strongbow's primary focus has been our nickel exploration in the Snowbird nickel project. We've been exploring an area that stretches for 240 kilometers from northern Saskatchewan into the Northwest Territories. And to date, we've defined one large bulk tonnage nickel copper sulfide deposit at Nickel King. We have a 43-101 resource for that deposit. And in July of this year, we reported some good initial metallurgy from the deposit. We also have a significant exploration upside. We've identified at least 15 additional nickel copper sulfide deposits in this belt, which is all part of our goal of working towards defining a new nickel belt in central Canada. And importantly, we own 100% of the entire project. So on this next slide, we get to see a little bit more of the location. Nickel King is located in the Northwest Territories, just north of the Saskatchewan border. It's 145 kilometers northeast of Stony Rapids. And from Stony Rapids, we have road access to the south, including the railhead in Prince Albert, where we can access the nickel smelters in Thompson, Manitoba, as well as the deepwater port in Churchill, Manitoba. Or heading west, we can access the nickel refineries in the Fort Saskatchewan area of Alberta, or further west to the deepwater port at the Port of Vancouver. And on this next slide, just a little bit on the geology of the Nickel King deposit. We've identified nickel copper sulfide mineralization in a number of areas within the property, but the main deposit itself has been defined in two south-dipping norite sills. We've traced mineralization over a 2.6 kilometer strike length, and mineralization remains open both to the west and to the southeast, in the up-dip direction, and in some cases in the down-dip direction as well. Earlier this year, in February of 2009, we reported an initial 43-101 resource estimate for Nickel King. The resource includes 11 million tons containing 44,500 tons of contained nickel, and in the indicated category. And in the inferred category, 33 million tons containing 119,000 tons of contained nickel. We believe this is a start. We're very confident that the size of this resource can be expanded and that we can make additional discoveries in the area, and I will touch on that a little later. But most importantly, the aspect of the resource that we keyed in on right away was the nickel grade. In the 0.36 to 0.4% nickel range, the grades are low. We were quite comfortable that we'd be able to get good nickel recoveries, but we needed to do some initial metallurgical work to show that that was the case. And in July of this year, we reported some initial metallurgical results for Nickel King. We were able to report that the mineralization is amenable to conventional metallurgical techniques, and utilizing a relatively simple flow sheet, in a lock cycle test, we were able to come up with a final concentrate grading 16.5% nickel, 4.2% copper, and 0.7% cobalt, all at good metal recoveries, including 78% for the nickel. The concentrate is very clean. It has no elevated magnesium or other deleterious elements, and we believe it would represent a product that would be attractive to both domestic and foreign consumers. We think that we can increase the recoveries of the initial metallurgy, but the most important aspect that we have shown is that we can create a high-grade nickel concentrate at good metal recoveries, and this is important considering the location of the deposit. And so with this metallurgy in hand, we can now focus on increasing the size of the resource and making new discoveries. We feel there's three ways that we can increase the size of the resource and add tonnage to the project. We can do it by increasing the ton within the confines and drilling within the confines of the existing resource estimate. We can drill out a long strike from the existing resource, and we can do it by making new discoveries. On this slide, slide 8, we can see the current drilling pattern at Nickel King. We've defined the deposit from drill hole 45 in the southwest up to the north and around to the southeast to drill hole 15, a strike length of 2.6 kilometers. And you can see there's a number of gaps in the drilling pattern that we've drilled so far within the deposit. And so not surprisingly, within the current resource estimate, we can see these gaps reflected. On this slide, we can see the extent of the inferred resource in the upper sill in red and the extent of the inferred resource in the lower sill in green. And we can see that there are a number of holes along the strike length of the deposit, and those holes generally reflect areas where we haven't yet drilled. So we're quite comfortable that by drilling within those gaps, we will increase the tonnage of the deposit and find mineralization. We can also see that drill hole 45 in the southwest have the drill intercept of 0.4% nickel over 45 meters, a very thick interval. That's pretty typical of the thickness of the deposit in this area. The grade is right in line with the average nickel grade of the resource estimate, and we have not drilled any further to the southwest of that. And on this next slide, we can see the ground electromagnetic data over the deposit, and we can see that the EM conductor does extend both to the south as well as to the west, which gives us very good confidence that by drilling outside of the existing resource to the west and to the south, as well as up dip and to the east, we'll be able to expand mineralization. And the last way that we can increase the resource, as I mentioned, was by making new discoveries. Just to the east of the main Nickel King deposit, there's a small showing called the Kuna Prospect, which we've drilled 4 holes into, getting very good nickel grades, all very close to surface, within 40 meters, which shows the potential within the Nickel King area to identify, at the very least, small satellite deposits. But stepping back, more importantly, is the work that we've been doing on a regional level to identify new nickel-copper sulfide deposits elsewhere within the belt to the south of Nickel King. We've had very good success doing this. We've identified in Saskatchewan a number of norite intrusions that are very similar in character to the host rock for mineralization at Nickel King. They're coincident with geochemical anomalies, coincident with electromagnetic anomalies, and most importantly, in some cases, they're mineralized. We can see on this slide some of the better nickel grades that we've recovered to date from our regional work. We've identified 5 areas where we have targets that we feel have the potential to host mineralization very similar to Nickel King. And all of this is working towards our goal of defining a new belt of deposits in this area. So in summary, at Nickel King, we've got a large bulk tonnage nickel-copper deposit. It has very simple metallurgy, which is good considering its location. It hasn't seen a whole lot of drilling for the size of the deposit, and the mineralization remains open along strike, most importantly, as well as up dip. We feel there's very good potential within the Nickel King area to make new discoveries. I mentioned the Kuna target earlier in the talk. The South Ring target is located just 3 kilometers to the south of Nickel King, and drilling there, right off the drill collar, just 6 meters down, we encountered 21 meters at 0.47% nickel, again showing the potential for satellite deposits within the Nickel King area. But further to the south in Saskatchewan, as part of the Snowbird project, we have 5 areas that we've identified top priority drill targets, which we think have excellent potential to host similar mineralization to Nickel King, and all of it going towards defining a new belt of nickel deposits in central Canada. Nickel deposits typically occur in clusters. They don't occur as one-offs, and that's why we've been really focusing on trying to define more than one deposit in this belt, and I think we've gone a good way towards doing that so far. There's not very many places in the world where one can have the opportunity to define a new belt of nickel deposits, particularly in Canada, where the political environment is very stable, mineral tenure is very secure, and the local expertise in exploration and mining is world-class. So I'll just finish off here with a little bit on the management and on the corporate information for the company. The officers and directors of Strongbow are listed here. This is a short presentation, so I won't go through the bios of everyone involved in the company, but we do have a great deal of experience and successful experience in exploration and development in northern Canada. I'd encourage you to go to our website to read the bios of the people involved with the company, or you can contact myself, Ken Armstrong, either as part of this AGORACOM conference or at the phone numbers and email listed below. So that wraps up the presentation, I want to thank you all for joining us, and I encourage you all to take this opportunity to post any questions that you may have about the company. For those of you who are watching this presentation at its scheduled time, please begin posting your questions now. For those of you watching this presentation outside of our scheduled times, please post your questions now and check back later for responses. Thank you.